yes, I like doing it, and yes, it plays into my strengths, but I also resent it in some ways. Hello, I feel like it's been a hot minute since I sat down here and talked to you about money. I'm Hannah, hello, welcome, welcome if you are new. The last time, other than obviously my annual revenue streams pie chart as a content creator slash influencer and going into all of that, that's more the business side of money and finance. It's been a while since I made like a personal finance money based video. I made one 4 years ago all about how me and my partner do our joint finances and kind of like how we run and manage that. At the time of filming that, we had just gotten married. We'd just gotten a joint mortgage together. It was also pandemic year. It was 2020. So actually 4 and a bit years ago, that video was made. Also, I think I was earning more than him at that time, and I was organizing and tracking all of our spending and personal and joint finances in like a Google Sheets spreadsheet kind of thing. And things have changed, and some things have stayed the same, but there's definitely been some big things that have changed. Spoiler alert, there is another human being who lives with us now. And so in this video, I kind of wanted to break down the current situation, how things have changed, and also I keep on getting requests from people to talk about how we use YNAB, which is this app called You Need a Budget. And I can't remember when, but at least a year or 2 ago, I switched from doing everything manually in my own spreadsheets to using YNAB. And I've been asked many times to share how we organize our YNAB and all of the different categories and all of that fun stuff. And I never have before, but now YNAB allows you to hide your amounts, like actually like hide the details of it, but while still showing like the categories and everything. So great! This means I can now share it publicly and blast it on the internet. Which leads me nicely onto some disclaimers, because money is emotional and personal. So whilst I will be talking about like general principles and the things that we do. One, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take my advice. This is not financial advice. And also the reason why I'm keeping the actual numbers private is just personal boundaries, and money is so subjective. So whatever numbers I give you, they will mean vastly different things to different people, and so it's kind of not even useful in my mind to like blast it in that sense. Obviously, I'm always happy to share the numbers with family and friends who I actually know, because they have a fuller picture of my life and the context of it, but I don't want to, and I don't see the benefits outweigh costs to me in terms of giving that information. So just FYI, setting some personal boundaries. But other than that, I am very happy to be as open and honest and transparent as possible. But before we get into the details of everything, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Squarespace. So whether you are just starting out in the freelance world or you're a small business owner, Squarespace makes it super easy to build your own website, engage your audience, and sell anything from physical and digital products to courses and even your time, all in one place and all on your terms. I've been using Squarespace for years for my personal website and other various websites for different work projects over the years. They are just my go-to, and I find it so easy to use as somebody who doesn't have any website design experience. They have tons of different beautiful website templates for you to choose from, so you can pick the one that best suits your brand and your needs and then customize it with all of your own branding and content. And Squarespace's new design intelligence empowers anyone to create their own beautiful and personalized website using AI technology. And Squarespace Blueprint takes you step by step in creating your own website. You just answer a few questions and it guides you and holds your hand through the whole process from beginning to end. Squarespace also has a huge suite of different visual design effects and tools so that you can really get creative and play around with your website. They are built in and ready to go on any Squarespace website, and there are loads of options to fit whatever your purpose, brand, or business. So if you are thinking about making your own website for whatever it may be, then head to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you are ready to launch it into the world, you can go to squarespace.com/morehannah to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, let's talk money. So let's take stock of the now, the current situation. How have things changed for us that impacts our finances since 2020? A lot of things. Probably one of the biggest things that hasn't just impacted us, but impacted pretty much everybody, is the cost of living crisis. The amount that we're spending on food, whether that's groceries or eating out, has just risen astronomically. And we had to remortgage our flat. Our fixed rate had come to an end. When was that? September 2023. And so we got hit by the increased interest rates on mortgages. I'm happy to share those. Previously, our interest rate on our mortgage was like a 1.49, heavenly. And now it's, I think, a 4 point something. I can't remember exactly. But it went from like a 1 point something to a 4 point something%. And fuck me, it really hurts when suddenly your mortgage bill like dramatically goes up overnight, but you're not actually paying off any more of your mortgage. It's just pure interest. Pure interest. What fun. What fun. So that has just been a huge change, very similar to probably most of you as well. Our cost of living has gone massively up. Luckily, in this time, and this is not the case for everyone, so I'm so grateful that this is our case, Dan's income, my partner, has gone up. I don't know if it's like matched, but it's definitely helped. The other huge thing that happened to us in the last 4 and a bit years is we had a baby who is now 3. And because of the type of job that I have, I couldn't take 9 months to a year maternity leave. And instead I went back to work part-time when he was like 3.5 months old. And so we have been paying for private childcare this whole time. And so there's the childcare costs, which is our biggest expense after our mortgage, and then everything else with a child. You've got another mouth to feed. There are activities and things to go to. Also, now that he's turning 3, we're gonna have to start like paying for his ticket for things. Like under 3s are often free events and like activities and things, but so that's another thing. Although we don't have to start paying for him on trains until I think he's like 4 or 5. So that's good. But also this kid needs to be clothed, and obviously they are growing and so constantly need new clothes. And then also obviously we massively spoil him at his birthday and Christmas. We try not to, and then the next thing you know, we've bought him a million things. And you're like, how did this happen? So yeah, children cost money. Obviously there is a huge range in what it costs to have a child, depending on your lifestyle and your income and all of that, but it definitely is an additional expense. Also in this time, I did a big career change thing. So I stopped making sex ed content, I stopped uploading on a whole YouTube channel and a podcast. That massively has impacted my finances, and also just having a baby in general has massively impacted my income. I would say that 3 years on from having a baby, and also like over a year on from like making this big shift in this transition in my career, my income has still not recovered. Again, this is slightly offset by my partner's income. His income is really doing a lot. It's like trying to offset my decrease in income and the increase in living expenses. So it's really working hard. And then of course, in terms of how we manage all of this, we use YNAB, a You Need a Budget, which this video is not sponsored by. Everything that I say about them in this video is just going to be like my opinions and thoughts. Okay, so the system that we use, like big picture, fundamentally hasn't changed. We still run our household income, our personal finances are organized in a way that we each have our own separate personal accounts, and then we have a joint account, and then we each put money into the joint account, and everything in the joint account is shared. We use Monzo as our bank of choice for our personal and joint accounts, and both personally and in the joint account we've got current accounts and savings. So I've got my own personal savings, but then also jointly we have our own savings, and Dan has his own personal savings as well, our emergency funds, if you will. So whilst the structure of how we organize our finances hasn't really changed, the situation has. So we put different amounts into the joint account. It tends to be relative in terms of who's earning more. So for many, many years, like I was the one putting more into the joint account. That has gone, that has changed now. And yes, I'm very aware of the gendered dynamics at play in our relationship when it comes to the impact on career and finances after having a baby. Yes, we are a statistic. I tried guys, but it happened to me too. Please join my Patreon. But then of course we've also both been putting in more than we were back in 2020 as well, because of cosy lives and childcare costs as well. So really the place where we both kind of like feel the squeeze is in our personal accounts, because covering our joint costs, like the mortgage and our bills and our child, is a priority. We have less personal money to spend on ourselves, but also we have less solo time and opportunities to spend that money. So this is just the phase of life we're in. For me personally, the things that I spend the most money on from my personal account that isn't like a joint expense is socializing, which might be like eating out with friends, theatre tickets, if I get a chance to go to the theatre, tennis, and books. But sometimes I can justify book payments as a business expense. Lucky me, but sometimes not. But obviously I have less time to do all of those things than I did before having a kid. And the same with Dan, the things that he spends his personal money on, he has less time to do now that he is a father. So I guess it kind of works out. All right, who is in charge? I'm still the one managing our money in a detailed sense. Like I'm the one that's regularly logging into YNAB and doing all the things that you need to do. But of course, in terms of the big decisions, those are things that we talk about together. In the video from 2020, I was all like, it's totally fine if one of you is doing all of the work, but then you come together to like make those big decisions. I don't know if I just wasn't self-aware enough then, or I was in denial. Whereas now my attitude towards it is, this is gendered labor. This is work. This is housework, and it is gendered. And yes, I like doing it. And yes, it plays into my strengths, but I also resent it in some ways. This is one of the many ways in which motherhood has radicalized me. I think I'm a lot jaded than I used to be, and I'm a lot less in denial about the gendered dynamics that come to play in my relationship. As much as we actively try and avoid them, it's fucking hard. But yeah, I watched back that video recently and me just being like, it's totally fine if one of you is in charge and one of you is doing all the work. And I was like, girl, are you gonna mention the gender dynamics at play here? No, I did not. Speaking of over-analysing everything to the point where you're no longer having fun, and I promise I will get to actually showing you our YNAB budget next. But when I was planning this video, Anne Helen Peterson of the Culture Study newsletter and podcast released a podcast episode called The Enduring Myths of Budget Culture. And I was like, perfect timing, Anne. Let me overthink and analyze and start to think critically about this. This was originally just going to be a video of me being like, look at my YNAB budget. This is how we organize it. What fun. And now, again, thanks to the radicalization of motherhood, Anne Helen Peterson in the Culture Study, I want to broaden this discussion beyond this is what I do and this is what I do to let's think like critically about like what is going on here and our values and beliefs and the systems at large. But essentially, I would highly recommend you listen to that episode. They talked about budget culture in the same way that we might say things like diet culture and other cultures, but talking about how budgeting is like dieting with your money because often is just all about restriction. And of course, we have a lot of complicated emotions around money. It comes wrapped in shame and guilt. They talked a lot about Dave Ramsey in that episode as well. He is awful, horrendous, horrible. His whole attitude towards money is that if you're in any kind of debt, you're an idiot. And YNAB did get a mention in the episode, and it was discussed that YNAB is part of budget culture. And originally I was like, oh, no, how dare you? I use it in this way, and so I'm not part of budget culture. I'm not doing anything bad. Obviously, that's not what the episode is intending to make you feel or think, but I do love having my behaviors questioned. The guest on the episode is Dana Miranda, and she has a book called You Don't Need a Budget, which she describes as an anti-capitalist personal finance book. So I just want to offer you that information before we then now go into me showing you what's in my You Need a Budget app. Because you don't need a budget. And we're going to look at this with a huge bowl of salt. A whole salt pig full of salt is the way that we are approaching this. So we have made it. YNAB, you need a budget. What the fuck is it? Some of you be like, what, Hannah? So it's a budgeting app, website, software thing. You can link your bank accounts with it. You don't have to, but I find it much easier to because then everything just gets imported for me. In my notes, I put Christian ? Because when I first started using YNAB, I did find that it was a bit of a learning curve, but they have loads of really great educational videos about how to use it on like their YouTube channel and stuff. And I got Christian vibes, which is interesting because in that podcast episode, they were talking a lot about the connections between like evangelicalism and like hard work, Protestantism and budgeting. Maybe I'm wrong about the evangelicalism, but definitely like the Protestantism. I don't know. All the different like branches of Christianity and how they play out in the US is a whole other minefield. So yeah, YNAB is also an American company app, but it does work and connect with UK bank accounts. And whilst I did get Christian vibes from those videos, they were genuinely very useful and helpful. And also, you might not be someone who is put off by Christian vibes. I'm put off by any sort of religious vibes. I immediately recoil, but that's just me. And maybe some of you too, I don't know. Why did we start using YNAB? So with our old system, as much as we tried to mitigate it, we always kept finding ourselves getting caught out by non-monthly payments. So payments that were every 6 months or every 12 months. When they came around, we were stuck and we were scrambling and we were having to go into our savings to like cover our service charge bill or whatever it was. And no matter how much we tried to plan for them, it just never worked. We just never could quite figure out a system so that we weren't caught out by those big payments. And so the thing that appealed to me about YNAB is that you can create in your budget these non-monthly things that you are essentially saving for. And so you're putting money aside on a monthly basis. And then when that payment comes round, voila, the money is there. You have it. Great, well done, you did it. So that to me was its biggest appeal. And that I think is probably for us actually the main thing that we use it for and get the most use out of and like value for money, because obviously you got to pay for YNAB. We have got a whole line in our YNAB budget that is YNAB. The other thing that I like about it is that I don't have to separate my money in our bank account. So with Monzo, you can have like different cards and you can have different pots and you can move money back and forth. We don't do that. We just have everything that is our spending money in our current account and then everything that is savings in a savings account that has like a small interest rate on it. And the reason we're able to do that and not have to like have all of these different pots for like putting aside different money is because it's just all done in YNAB. So it's kind of like you're pretend separating everything into pots or envelopes, you know, in like the cash envelope system or whatever, but you're not actually having to move your money around. Your money is all in one place, but within YNAB, you can then like categorize things, if that makes sense. And the other thing is that I don't actually think we practically use it as a budget. It definitely feels more like a spending tracker because we regularly go over. We regularly overspend in multiple categories per month. And then I'm just there like moving money around because there'll be some categories in a month that we don't even touch. And then there'll be other categories that we like overspend on. If I'm being honest, eating out and takeaway is the one that we routinely overspend on. So the amount that we assign to that category for us isn't like a hard and fast rule in terms of like, this is our budget, we must stay under this. Some months we might spend less, some months we might spend more. But yeah, so I think if we were actually using it as a budget, we would be terrible at sticking to said budget. But because some months we might be spending way more on travel, or there'll be one month where we book a holiday, or like when we were doing up our bedroom, obviously there were a lot of like furniture or household items expenses, but now we've stopped doing that, so those expenses have kind of massively decreased. So that's why it does feel like a bit more of a spending tracker, because it's not one that we're actively like, oh no, we've only got £10 left in this category, we can't spend any more than that. We kind of use it more reflectively to be like, oh wow, February was a big month for eating out. Oh wow, we spent a lot on this in that month. What was that about? So yeah, it feels more like that in the way that we use it, which does feel like an immense privilege that we don't like feel like we really need to budget. The times when we have felt that is like, for instance, when childcare costs have increased, like when I went from part-time to then increasing my hours, or when our mortgage payments went up, we were like, okay, where is this extra money to pay our mortgage interest going to come from? Like, which categories can we kind of like shave a bit off, or do we need to be putting more money into the joint account? Like, those are the kind of conversations that we have. But we do have immense privilege in a lot of ways. We are generally not big spenders. We are good at spending within our means. Neither of us have any childhood hang-ups about money, which is a huge privilege to have. Like, you can definitely get a lot of baggage about money from the way that your childhood was or the way that your parents were with money, and we are incredibly lucky that neither of us have come into adulthood or our relationship together having to unpack any of that. And we have a decent savings cushion. So we're not actively putting in to our emergency fund and savings account right now, because before cost of living, before having a child, we were doing that a lot. And before my income went down, we were putting a lot into our savings. And so actually, a lot of the impacts of more of what we're spending now has been that we're just not putting more money into our savings account. But of course, we're very lucky, or maybe a bit smart. Don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much though. But when we could, we were putting a lot of money into our savings account, and now we can't really as much, but we still have that savings cushion that's already there. Okay, sorry it's taken so long. We're doing it now. It's happening. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna shimmy on over here. So this is my personal YNAB. My personal one and our joint one are organized differently. And actually the way that my personal is organized, I was like really struggling with figuring it out. And this way of organizing it, I got from one of the YNAB like educational videos. So in frequent, we've got groceries, eating out and takeaway, and transportation. Most of transportation is my like tube budget, and then the occasional train that I get that isn't a joint expense. Not much to say here really. This is maybe the least interesting part of the video, I don't know. Or maybe it's the most interesting part because we love to nosy at other people's things. And then next is quality of life. So these are things that like for me, I personally care about. So like the top ones feel like things that might be like quite universal amongst everyone, like everyone needs to eat and, you know, use transportation in some way, whether that is public transport or a car. Whereas these are the things that I'm like, these are the things that I personally spend money on for me. So we've got shopping. This will be mostly for clothes, if I'm honest, but I don't use it every month. Again, this is a thing. We put the money aside for it, and then there's entertainment. And so for me, that includes like books and theatre tickets. Some months I'll buy one book. Another month I'll buy 2 theatre tickets. Those are 2 vastly different amounts in expenses. So this is where the flexibility comes with like moving things around. Then we have fitness. Most of the time, this is me paying for my tennis lessons. And then in personal care, this will be like massages or getting my nails done, which I haven't actually done in ages because gels destroyed my nails last summer and I haven't gone back. But maybe getting my legs waxed and my eyebrows done, that kind of thing. Bit of personal care. So those are my things in terms of like me personally, what am I spending my money on to make me feel good? To quality of life. And then goals, I got some goals. So there is a charity category because I want to be donating money to charity every month. There's holidays. This, as you can see, is very underfunded at the moment. Holidays is probably one of the last things that I assign money to. So like when I have my income and I'm like, okay, what am I assigning money to this month? It's usually whatever is left over, I put in the holidays thing. But also I did just go on holiday with my parents in early February. So that just got spent basically. Then we've got Gifts, so this is just one that I'm constantly adding to and constantly spending from throughout the year. Admin, this was probably the most recent addition because I found that like I was buying stamps, or I don't know, like postage and packaging tends to be like the main thing that comes out of this, but occasionally other things. And it was just like, what do I call this? It's just admin. Then we have taxes, because I self-employed and so I have to pay my own taxes. I receive pre-income tax rather than income that has already been taxed. So I have to make sure that every month I am sticking a bunch of money into a separate pot. And actually I do have a separate pot for taxes in Monzo, because I definitely don't want to be accidentally spending that. And then we have savings, and then we have my ISA, which I put money into every month as well. And then in income, that is just, again, an idea that I got from the YNAB videos, which is when I then get paid, because YNAB runs from the 1st of every month. I think you can change it, but my brain goes, no, don't want to change that. I need it to start on the 1st of every month. I like that. But I get paid on the 25th of every month, as does Dan, like around that time. And so instead of that money just like sitting there and not doing anything, the money goes into next month's money and it just stays there. And then on the 1st of every month, I take the money out of that category and then assign it to all the different categories. And then what's in hidden? 3 hidden categories. So these will be categories that I finished. Like I was saving up for something specific. I think one of these is Taylor Swift tickets. Yeah, okay. Therapy. So like a year ago now, I did 6 sessions. And so I, wanted to make sure that I had the funds for that. Taylor Swift ticks. And then Buttercup Baby is a painting that I bought, but I was paying it in installments. And so that was for that, but I paid it off now. I owned a painting. There we go. So that's my personal. Now we're on to the joint budget, the joint YNAB, and this one has a lot more sections. So this one is housing, monthly bills. So we've got the mortgage, we've got council tax, we've got electric and gas, we've got water, and we've got internet. Those are our monthly bills. Then, this is the bit that's my favourite part of it, non-monthly. So these are all things that we regularly need money for, but just not on a monthly basis. So ground rent, we pay that once a year. Service charge, twice a year. Home insurance, once a year. Parking, so this actually was parking, which was once a year for our resident parking, but Dan actually doesn't have a car anymore. But we just kept this here because we often have to pay visitor parking passes for when family and friends visit. So we just kept that in there. It probably shouldn't be in non-monthly because it's not like a fixed amount, but whatever, it's there. TV license, once a year. Disney Plus, once a year. Prime, once a year. iSee, this is 1 second every day. This is the like video app that I use for 1 second every day. I'm fully hooked. I'm on my 3rd year of doing it, 3rd or 4th year of doing it or something now. And so yeah, I'm paying for that. And whilst yes, it is me that does it, I was like, Dan, can I pay for this on the joint account? Because it is essentially like videos of Rowan. So it is a joint account expense. And then we have YNAB, of course, because we've got to pay for this goddamn app that we're using too. Next is fixed. So these are things that we know the amount, and it might be actually weekly things that we pay for, but then YNAB is able to calculate how much you need to assign that month depending on how many weeks there are in that month. That kind of flexibility I like. So like for instance, our childcare payments come out every Monday. And so YNAB will be like, oh, okay, there are 4 Mondays in this month, so you need this much money. Or there might be 5 Mondays that month, so we need this much money. So in fixed, we've got, oh no, she's wrong. Obviously the childcare payments is in the kids category, but these are other fixed things. So Cleaner, who comes weekly. Mustard is our leopard gecko, and we buy her food every week. So there's that, but then also there's like extra buffer room in there if she needs new light bulbs or like other things for the Viv. Then there's charity, again, monthly charity payments, and then subscriptions. So this is, I think, Netflix and Spotify, which is, yeah, because that's monthly. Some of these don't make sense. I guess it's because I put the yearly ones in the other one, and these are the ones that come out monthly. Is that why? I don't know. Then in Flexi, we have got groceries, eating out and takeaway, furniture, household items, health and wellness. What comes in health and wellness? It's just occasionally if we need medicine, prescriptions, I don't know. Stuff occasionally comes out of that category, not often. Transport and entertainment. So entertainment might be like a film or a ball game or, I don't know, Dan and I going out to see some comedy, that kind of thing. Very rarely happens. Right, now we're on to the kids category. So we've got the childcare one, as you can see, those are the different like weekly payments. We've got 4 Mondays this month. Activities, clothes, furniture and stuff. That's a generic category. And then toys. And we usually like put books when we buy in books. That comes out of the toys category. Then we have some joint goals. So fertility, trying for baby number 2. We're still like TBC on if we're going to like take the plunge and do any kind of private treatment. We have had some private tests done, so that's why that's in there, because obviously we've like spent money in that category and we've started to save a little bit in that category to, you know, give us some wiggle room if we then go, yeah, right, let's do this. Holidays, as you can see, joint holidays, not done. Then Rowan, so we money into an ISA for Rowan, and then also occasionally Rowan will get gifts from family, and those money gifts from family come into our joint account, but then within YNAB we make sure that that money is assigned to him, so that then we make sure that that goes into his account rather than it staying in ours. Gifts and Christmas, fully spent at the moment, and that's because Rowan is about to turn 3, and so we've been buying presents. And then savings. And then income is the same, next month's money, and then I'm really curious what these hidden categories are. Oh yeah, car insurance, car maintenance, don't have a car anymore, we don't need those categories. And then goals, new house. We were at one point in the process of moving house and that never happened. And so we had a whole new house category for like savings and also like paying things like solicitor fees and stamp duty. We were ready. And then we didn't need it. So there you go. That's our YNAB. That's how we organise it. I do find it really interesting to see like how other people like categorise things, because I feel like recently I was like, oh, I do wonder like how much I'm spending on books, because I put books in my like entertainment category, but maybe I would want to know how much I'm spending on books, but actually I kind of don't care. I feel like I'm going to get this question, so I'll answer it now. Would I recommend YNAB? Of course, you could do the calculations yourself. There is nothing stopping you other than it being a faff. I love outsourcing things to apps that are a faff. Like Monzo obviously has like digital cards and pots, and you can create your own categories as well. I can't remember if that's something that you have to like pay for the Monzo Perks plan to do, but there definitely is a lot more flexibility there, more so than we started using YNAB. So I don't know if we hadn't started using YNAB, would we just like do it all in Monzo now maybe? I definitely think it's possible to do it that way as well. It is a bit of a faff every month. So like on the 1st of every month, I'm reconciling the bank accounts and I'm like assigning the money in all of the different categories, and I'm making sure that everything is like matched to like what's in YNAB to like what actually is in our bank account, and making sure there's no discrepancies there. I do find that a bit of a faff, but it does only take me about 10 minutes. So there we go. But also I don't know if I actually even answered the question of would I recommend it. I would recommend it for all of the reasons why I find it useful, but I don't know your situation, so it might not be useful for you, and there are alternatives to YNAB, if that makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments, are you a budgeter? Are you in need of a bit of a wake-up call about how you actually don't need a budget? Have you read that book, You Don't Need a Budget? Let me know. And how do you manage your own personal or joint finances? Are you a YNABber? How do you organise your YNAB? And if you are in the UK and you do want financial advice, my favourite resource, as is the nation's, really. So this isn't really much a recommendation that you don't know about, but obviously Martin Lewis, money saving expert, like that man, that website, thank you. Thank you for your service. So there we go. Thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video. I hope that you enjoyed nosing into our personal finances, but I also hope you found it interesting in terms of the things that we talked about, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on that as well. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.